Welcome to today's Explainer. Look, if you've ever been on a team where a project just seemed to drag on forever, constantly morphing into something completely different from what you originally planned, then you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're diving into a highly actionable topic, crafting an effective project scope document. It's absolutely crucial. It is literally the ultimate blueprint for guaranteeing your project's success. I'm so excited to break this down for you today, because getting this right, it changes the whole shebang when it comes to how you work.
Okay, let's dive into this. As Woody Williams famously put it, projects don't fail at the end, they fail at the beginning. It hits hard, doesn't it? Because it's so incredibly true. We tend to think of project failures as these massive explosions right before a deadline. But the reality, it's much quieter. The true pain points, those totally derailed budgets, the exhausted resources, the failed deliveries, they almost always start at the very beginning of the planning phase. If you don't lay the right track, the train is going to derail. It doesn't matter how fast the engine is running.
So here's our roadmap for today. 1. Why projects fail early. 2. What a project scope actually is. 3. The danger of scope creep. 4. The exact steps to create your document. And 5. Ensuring project success.
Let's start right in with Section 1, Why Projects Fail at the Beginning.
It all comes down to the foundation, right? Without a clear framework and crystal clear boundaries, a project is essentially doomed before the team even lifts a single finger. Projects just naturally drift into chaos and misalignment. It's just human nature. Stakeholders have big ideas, team members have their own preferences, and clients, well, they get sudden bursts of inspiration. A solid early planning framework is exactly what prevents this confusion. It perfectly aligns everybody's expectations from day one so that the picture in the client's head actually matches the blueprint in the project manager's hand.
Moving on to Section 2, What exactly is a project scope document? So the crucial point is this: if early misalignment is the disease, this document is the cure. A project scope statement, sometimes you'll hear it called a statement of work, is a comprehensive written document outlining the objectives, deliverables, tasks, deadlines, and constraints. But more importantly than all of that, it acts as a binding agreement for all the stakeholders. It's the critical, unshakable basis for every downstream decision. When a question pops up 3 months into the work, this is the document you point to. Now, to be effective, this document has got to have a few essential components. You need SMART goals, so specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound objectives, alongside extremely clear deliverables. You need to outline key processes so everybody knows exactly how the work gets done. You absolutely must have acceptance criteria. What does done actually look like? And critically, you need project exclusions and initial assumptions. Getting all of this in writing, that's your magic weapon to prevent scope creep and track your progress. And this brilliantly illustrates how it works in the real world. Imagine we're doing a neighborhood park development project. The goal, a safe park with recreational spaces. Deliverables are super clear: trails, playgrounds, benches. We explicitly state what's in scope, like land preparation and lighting. But check out the exclusions. We deliberately say no commercial spaces, no large parking areas, and the constraint is a hard budget of $2.5 million. By defining this up front, if a local leader suddenly says, "Hey, let's add a coffee shop," the project manager can point right to the exclusions and say, "Nope, sorry, that's out of scope."
Which brings us nicely to Section 3, The Danger of Scope Creep. If your scope document is the hero of our story, scope creep is definitely the villain. Going back to our park metaphor for a second, building a fence by defining exactly what is explicitly out of scope is just as important as defining what's in scope. When stakeholders see land preparation and lighting on the in-scope list, they might logically think, oh, maybe we can do other large installations. By explicitly listing private event facilities or commercial spaces as out of scope, you're building a massive protective fence around your project. Scope creep sneaks in when that fence isn't built, and suddenly, just one small addition turns into 10 massive headaches.
And the reason scope creep is so incredibly dangerous is because of what we call the triple constraint: time, cost, and scope. These three things, they are entirely interdependent. Think of them like a triangle. You literally cannot pull on one corner without stretching the other two. A sudden, unapproved change in scope, like, say, adding that commercial coffee shop to our park, causes a massive domino effect. It instantly blows up that $2.5 million budget and drastically extends the timeline.
All right, Section 4, The Steps to Create an Effective Document. Let's get practical.
How do we actually formulate this critical document without wasting time? It happens in 3 phases. Phase 1 is all about planning. Step 1. Identify your SMART objectives. You have to set specific, measurable goals so everyone knows exactly what success looks like. Step 2. List your key deliverables. Detail the characteristics of every single thing your team is going to produce. Step 3. Assess major constraints early. You really have to proactively foresee limitations, like a super strict budget, a hard deadline, or maybe a key team member going on vacation long before the work starts.
Let's move to and see how this builds right into Phase 2, control. Step 4 is to develop acceptance criteria. You have to establish verifiable conditions for your deliverables, like how do you objectively prove a task is actually finished to the client's standard? Write it down. Then, Step 5 is to establish a scope control process. You need a structured, agreed-upon process for handling the inevitable change requests. If someone wants to alter the scope, how is it evaluated? Who actually signs off on the budget increase?
And finally, Phase 3 is alignment. Step 6, validate with your stakeholders. Gather formal written feedback and sign off. This makes sure absolutely everyone is on the exact same page. And Step 7, distribute to the team. Guys, this document does zero good if it's locked in a manager's drawer. It has to be easily accessible to all team members to prevent those late-stage misunderstandings and keep everybody focused strictly on the agreed-upon boundaries.
Wrapping up with Section 5, ensuring project success.
We've built the boundaries. Now, how does preventing all this scope creep actually guarantee success? Well, the impact of strict scope control is massive. First off, it allows for efficient resource allocation. Because you know exactly what the project is and what it isn't, you can assign the exact right people without overworking them. Second, it gives you proactive risk prevention. By assessing those constraints early on, you stop scope creep in its tracks and mitigate risks before they explode into disasters. And third, it provides a totally solid foundation for change management. When requests come in, you're evaluating them against a solid baseline, not just a gut feeling.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the challenge it presents to you. Are you ready to define the boundaries of your next project? We've seen today that projects don't fail at the end. They fail right at the start. By explicitly outlining these steps and creating a comprehensive scope document, you aren't just filling out paperwork. You are actively engineering your project for success. So, I challenge you, take these steps and build proper, unshakable boundaries in your very next planning session. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. And hey, happy planning!